Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to Chatting with the Rev. We're glad to be with you again this day. It's on a Monday, actually the second day of the week, since Sunday begins the week. And we're glad to have you with us, those who are tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Politics 101. A change is coming. Today we're going to deal with transition. The transition from the Obama administration to the Trump administration thus far. Good afternoon to my wife, evangelist, prophetess Teresa J. Scott, Lady T, and to my dear friend Ingrid Morgan Gordon for being with us, joining us today. But before we get into the meat of the matter, I want to discuss two very important facts that will impact the further discussion that we'll have this afternoon. The first is considering the Constitution and the Electoral College. The Constitution and the Electoral College. If by some miracle the activists that are against Donald Trump will get enough votes within the delegates of the Electoral College to force a tie between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Thus far, Donald Trump has 290 delegates and Hillary Clinton has 228. A tie would bring it to 269 to 269. You know, the total votes in the Electoral College is 538. So if there would be a tie, if they could bring it up to a tie, those who are against and who are actively campaigning to sway the delegates that are for Trump, if they could persuade enough where it becomes a tie, 269 to 269, then the election will be decided by the House of Representatives. Good afternoon, my dear friend Barbara Hunter Evans. The decision of who will be the next president, the decision of who will be the 45th president of the United States of America will be in the hands of the House of Representatives. All 435 members of the House of Representatives would vote on who the next president would be. That's if there would be a tie in the Electoral College, 269 to 269. So far, Donald Trump has 290, Hillary has 228, but if for some unknown reason, hello Arthur, for some unknown reason or through a miracle, they could sway the Trump voters to go in favor of Hillary to the point that it becomes a tie. A tie would be decided by the House of Representatives. All 435 members of the House would decide who would be the next president. Now, it's more than coincidental that the majority of the House of Representatives are presently Republican. The sad part about all of this is this, that this passed in the last couple of weeks when we had the election on November the 8th. All 435 House of Representative members were up for re-election or to be rejected by the constituents. However, no shift in the numbers were changed in the House of Representatives, so they still hold a majority. Now keep in mind, Donald Trump is the Republican candidate who won the election for the office of president. So the likelihood, I'm assuming that if it would go to the House of Representatives, he would still become the 45th president just because he's a Republican. He was the Republican nominee, ultimately the Republican candidate for the office, and won the election on November the 8th. If it went into the hands of the House of Representatives, who are majority right now Republicans, he would still win the presidency. The second point I want to make is this. It's concerning the United States Senate. Now, as you know, we're talking about transition. We're talking about nominees who Donald Trump is nominating to serve in the various cabinet positions. Well, did you know that it's the United States Senate, the upper house of the Congress? We talked about the House of Representatives has the power to elect in case of a tie in the Electoral College. It's the House of Representatives that will choose the president. Well, when it comes to the cabinet offices within the cabinet of the president, it's the United States Senate that has the power to confirm or reject said nominee. Now, the interesting thing about this is this, and why it would be very difficult for the Senate not to approve of the nominees that are now up for the offices in the cabinet. It'd be very hard because of this. 3 years ago, the Senate, the Democrats in the Senate, at that time, 3 years ago, the Senate had the majority of the members of the Senate, all 100 members, the majority of them were Democrats 3 years ago. 3 years ago, as you know, the Republicans were so outraged and so upset, even from 2008 actually, and including the year that Obama was reelected. They were so upset about his winning, not just once, but twice, that they became obstructionists, meaning that they just blocked everything that he put forward. Everything that he put forward, they would block. So the Democrats decided that they would unleash what they call the nuclear option. The nuclear option. Now, the nuclear option is this, that just with a small majority vote, they could either reject or confirm a nominee. What that means is that all it would take out of the 100 members of Congress, of the Senate, to vote a man up or down, a woman up or down, they would need 51 votes. 51 of 100 votes possible, they would need at least 51. Now keep in mind, right now, the Senate has 52 senators that are Republicans, 48 that are Democrats. Okay? Now because of that, and I'm including Bernie Sanders, who normally leans on the Democratic side, so what we mean by that is all they would need would be 51 votes. So if every Republican would vote in favor of a nominee being confirmed, there's nothing the Democrats can do about it. Because they have 52 votes. I just told you, all they need is 51. If every Republican would vote in a block and vote unanimously, they win every position, every confirmation that they would seek, that the president would seek. The president can confirm not only just nominees to the cabinet, but he can also confirm every federal judgeship, except for the United States Supreme Court. So every federal court judge is nominated by the president. Every cabinet member is nominated by the president. But it's up to the United States Senate to either approve or confirm the nomination or to reject the nomination. Certainly, the situation is very favorable for President-elect when he becomes president on January the 20th, 2017, to push through all of his nominees because of this nuclear option that was created by the Democratic senators. They did it to help Obama get some of his policies through. Now, originally, it took 60 senators to approve a confirmation. 60. Now it doesn't take as many because of the Democratic move. So before it would take 60 out of the 100. Now it's only 51 out of the 100 to confirm or to reject a nominee, either for the cabinet office or for a federal judgeship. There's an irony in that, isn't it? The Democrats created this, now will be probably a monster. And they really don't have the votes to override what they changed. They're not in the majority anymore. They're a minority group within the Senate. So let's say they wanted to change it because they want to be obstructionists like that the Republicans were for Obama. If they want to change this and become obstructionists to the Republicans, they can't do it. So it's very likely that they would probably once again get their way and allow Trump to have his nominees confirmed. There's no guarantee that every Republican will vote in Trump's favor on every issue. I'm sure they won't, because there are many issues that they're in disagreement with him. But dealing with cabinet, dealing with federal judgeships, even when it comes to the United States Supreme Court, when they finally hear that person who was going to be nominated for that position, the likelihood that these persons will be in place is heightened because both houses of Congress are now under the rulership and the leadership of the Republican Party, and now the new incoming president will also be a Republican. So that's why I say it's so vitally important that we vote during the mid-season, which means between two general elections. The next mid-season election will be in 2018. Once again, this time it's going to be 33 senators up for re-election, and all 435 congressmen will be up again for re-election. Remember, the Congress are elected for 2-year terms. So if they're elected this year, all 435, 2 years from now, 218, they'll be up again to be scrutinized. Remember how they vote now. They're going to be voting on every cabinet officer. They're going to be voting on the United States Supreme Court judge. They're going to be voting on other federal judgeships. Remember how they vote. Don't forget, we have a tendency to let bygones be bygones, and we have a tendency to become complacent. And in the midterm elections, we don't even vote half the people. There's 200 million registered voters. Most times, not even a third of them vote during the midterm elections. And look what happens. The Republican gets in. The Republican Party, compared to the Democratic Party, is the smaller party numerically. There are less Republican voters than there are Democratic voters. So most times when Republicans get in, it's because the Democrats aren't voting in the numbers that they have. Either they're not voting at all, or they're splitting the ticket, or something that they're doing that allows the Republicans to get in. I also said this before, that the last two presidential elections won by Republicans were won through the Electoral College and not by the popular vote. In 2000, Gore won the popular vote, but George W. Bush won the election. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but Donald Trump won the Electoral College. We have to remember this. We have to do something about the congresspersons, and we also have to do something about the Electoral College. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll keep on saying it. We have to stop being complacent, get all riled up and talking about this thing. You know, I'm going to tell you the truth. Every single person has heard these tapes in the last 3 weeks that I've given, at least 2.5 weeks that I presented the Politics 101. You should be going to YouTube, to my YouTube channel, and subscribing and reviewing this and looking at it again and seeing the things that I've said. They're very important. Protesting for the sake of protesting is not good enough. You're not going to protest for 4 years. That's going to die down. That's going to be less as time goes on. You don't hardly hear about it now. But the things we're talking about, the implementation of action that we're talking about, can affect change for your generation, my generation, our children's generation, our grandchildren's generation, and for the rest of the history of this nation. But we have to do something. We have to take advantage of the power that we do possess. Unlike the president, the senators and congresspersons are not selected and approved by any electoral college. They are directly put in office by the constituents, by the citizens, by the registered voters that vote for them. That's how they are put into office. So we can block that. We can change that. We can shift that. We can make it so that 2018, we can almost assure that there won't be another problem like we've had now. But we have to do something. So the two issues. If Donald Trump would lose some of his supporters in the Electoral College because of the efforts of the protesters and the activists against him, if he would lose to the point that this Electoral College would become tied, it would go into the hands of the House of Representatives. This is according to the Constitution of the United States. And they would decide whether he would be president or not. Now, I would doubt very seriously if the Republican Party, which is now in the majority in the House of Representatives, would want another 4 years at least of a Democrat. I would doubt that very seriously. I would assume and presume, and I think correctly, that they would vote for Donald Trump, whether they like him or not. Just the idea that for the first time since George W. Bush, there would be a Republican in the White House would be enough motivation for them. And the second thing is about the United States Senate, how they have the power to confirm or reject any nominee that the candidate presents before them. But because of the nuclear option that the Democrats created to stop the obstructionist moves that the Republicans made against Obama, that same ruling will now apply in favor of Donald Trump, because now the Republican Party is in the majority in the Senate, as they are in the House of Representatives. What do you do about that? Well, first thing we can do right now, because we have to wait till 2018 for another election, what we can do right now is to write our senators. Write your senator. www.senator.gov. www.senator.gov is who you write to. You'll find out who your senator is. The senators of Pennsylvania are Robert Casey for the Democrats and Patrick Toomey for the Republicans. There are our two senators. I'm going to write to them. I've already written to them because I have something on my phone called voter spotters. And that's where you can easily vote, because they will direct you right to their offices. But if you would write type in your computers, type in your cell phone, www.senator.gov, you will be immediately, you'll first find out who they are, then you'll be informed about where you can write to them, even how you can call them. All of them have offices throughout the state that they represent. Let them know that, yeah, we're looking at you in these nominees. You can do it now because these nominees aren't officially a part of the administration, because naturally Trump is not president yet. So these people are not Secretary of State yet. They're not Secretary of Defense yet. We can still have an input on this because it's not over yet. It has not even been enacted yet, and it won't be active until January the 20th when he takes the oath of office to become the 45th president. So we can do something right now in November and December, and even part of January that can let them know how we feel about it. And let them know that we know 33 of you up for re-election, senators. We know, congressmen, that all 435 of you are up for re-election in 2 years. We know that, and we will vote accordingly. We have power. We just abdicate our power and would rather let things get out of hand. Then we want to react, overact, and, be downright crazy about it. With no solution, with no strategy, with no real plan to affect real change. Now let's turn our attention to the transition. You know there's going to be a great transition. The policies of of Obama, which was pretty much liberal, moderate to say the least, liberal to say the most about his appointees. They were very liberal, progressive-minded persons, a few moderates here and there. Trump will have a different type of cabinet. I want to read. I'm going to read this because I don't know. I wouldn't know this by my own knowledge. I know a lot of what I've talked to you about through what I've learned over the years and what I've studied even in the last few days. But what I'm going to read to you now are, first of all, the transition team that that Trump has gotten together. The chairman of the transition team is the Vice President-elect, Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana. He is the chairman of the transition team. Now, the co-chairpersons include Ben Carson, Newt Gingrich, Michael Flynn, Rudy Giuliani, and Jeff Sessions. Now, I didn't say Chris Christie because he has been removed from the position of being on the transition team, largely because Trump's son-in-law has a problem with him. When Christie was the prosecuting attorney general to be exact, in New Jersey, he attempted to put Trump's son-in-law, I forget his name, but Trump's son-in-law's father in jail. He was going to prosecute the father of Trump's son-in-law. You know, everything is politics. I don't care, even if you're not a politician. Everything is getting even with and getting back at. You know, there's been a lot of controversy about this transition team anyway. People have been omitted, included, taken off, put on. You know, there's been infighting in and out. And so Christie is no longer a part of the transition team. He was one of the, in fact, he started out as being the chairman of the transition team. Then he was taken down, and Pence was put into the place of being the chairperson. And then Christie now has been removed from being a part of the transition team at all. Some of the executive members of the commission, or the team rather, are Representatives Lou Barletta, Representative Marsha Blackburn, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, Representative Chris Collins, Representative Tom Marino, Rebecca Mercer, Steve Munchin, Devin Nunes, to name just a few. There's a few others. I want to just add this too. All of his children are a part of it. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, and here is the son-in-law right now, the husband of Ivana. His name is Jared Kushner. These are all part of the transition team. They're out there now deciding who's going to serve in what capacity. Now, Donald Trump has already decided on a few of these offices already. He decided so far that Senator Jeff Sessions from Alabama, he would nominate him to be the Attorney General. Looking him up, and I want to know who he is, and I want to know exactly what he's going to bring to the table and what positions he will take as Attorney General. Keep in mind, the Attorney General is the chief officer, enforcement officer in the nation. The Attorney General. Sessions was rejected for confirmation as a federal judge in 1986 after testimony that he said that the Ku Klux Klan was okay until I found out they smoked pot. And he called a black attorney boy. So you see some of the civil rights groups and some of the Democrats are already up in arms with this nominee. It's really, he has a southern name really. His real name is Jefferson Beauregard Sessions. Jefferson Beauregard Session, senator from Alabama, 69 years old. So he remembers the civil rights movement. He was alive very much so. Maybe even active, who's to say? I'm going to try to see you some of his background as it relates to the Ku Klux Klan. And certainly he was sympathetic toward the Klan at one time and referred to a black attorney as a boy. You know, that was a very undermining term at one point. In fact, some people still use the word boy. Grown men, attorney, went to college, 8 years of school. This particular attorney had already been practicing 15 years. You still calling me boy? I haven't been a boy in about 30 years, but you still calling me boy. This is going to be the Attorney General. At least he's being nominated by the President-elect to be the next Attorney General. As I told you before, the United States Senate is the one that either confirms or rejects. And right now, the Senate members are majority Republican. And now, because of the ruling of the Democratic senators 3 years ago in 2013, all you need is 51 votes out of the 100 to get this man in as your next Attorney General. It's ironic because he's going to take the place of Loretta Lynch. Another irony. Loretta Lynch, who was the first African-American Attorney General. Woman Attorney General. We already had Holder. We know he was the first black. But now this is going to be the first black woman attorney. She was the first black woman Attorney General, going to be replaced by maybe a very different sort of Attorney General, to say the least. The next is the CIA director, and his name is Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo, 52 years old. He's the choice of Donald Trump to serve as director of the CIA. He has a hawkish kind of view about how we should do things, and he believes that in surveillance and espionage and all this type of thing. He's one of the leaders in trying to inquire about the Benghazi situation with Hillary Clinton. He was one of the ones that pushed that, to really look very hard at Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State, and to see what irregularities that she was responsible for in the onslaught of the embassy there, and actually the murder of the ambassador, how much of a role she played in all that, how much she knew about all of it. He was one of the persons that pushed for this. He was a representative in that time. So these are some of the candidates that he has. Now, he still has Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, all the other secretaries of Human Services, Health and Human Services, Agriculture, and the rest. He has many more to go. But he's seen a lot of people. He spent really the whole weekend seeing many, many people, including some of his arch enemies. I'm thinking in mind, one in particular, Mitt Romney, who spoke about him very harshly. They met this weekend. I don't know whether he's going to offer him a job or not, but they did meet this weekend. They're looking for him. Hi, Herman, a friend of mine from school. But they are going to look into all the other possibilities. He has many, many more to do. These are just two out of the many that he has. Now, he has another one. I understand that he has one called, his name is Michael Flynn. He's looking at being the National Security Advisor. Michael Flynn. He's 57 years old. Very close friend with Trump, as well as being closely tied to the Russians. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that we should have such a hard line stand against the Russians, because we're going to have to deal with everybody in the world, and particularly the powerhouses. But I don't believe that you sell the car for nothing either. I don't believe that you take any old thing either. You have to be able to negotiate diplomatically, sure enough, but you have to have a firm stand too. We're a nation that needs to stand strong, though a nation that still needs to be open to detente, open to diplomacy, open to compromise if need be. But we're looking now to Trump to see where this thing goes and how far it goes. But I think we have a duty to scrutinize and to watch. You can go on the internet. You go on the internet for everything. Go on the internet to watch music. Go on the internet for your favorite show. Go on the internet for this. Go on the internet for that. I see so much trash on Facebook in terms of people downloading and looking up and finding this and finding that. I said, what kind of foolishness is this? And here we are at the crossroads of maybe the rest of our life as a great nation. And we're still bogged down in the nonsense and don't want to get involved with the real issues. We can make a change. We could have made a change this past election day, November the 8th. We could have made a change. We could have done something. But that's over with now. I'm not one that cries over spilled milk, let me tell you. That's over with. November the 8th will not come until next year, and by that time, he will have been president almost a year. But we can do a lot right now. That means you have to get off your do-nothingness. You have to get off those keys on your keyboard that takes you to everything but what you need to be on, and go to www.senate.com. Go to www.representative.gov, rather. www.representative.gov and www.senate.gov. Go there and find out the records of these people. First of all, find out who your senator is. Do you all know who your senators are? There's 100 of them. 2 for each state. Do you know who your senators are? Not just one, not just the one you voted for last Tuesday, both senators. See, right now, they're both your senators. It's not about party right now. You can write both of your senators, and I would advise you to do such. You're a Republican senator if you're a Democrat, and your Democratic senator if you're Republican, and tell them what you want in terms of the programs and the things you want to see. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the group that's going to feel this whole thing the hardest are people that are physically disabled, who are physically challenged, who have challenged abilities. Because they already talk about adjusting Medicare and Medicaid. I know some of us are senior citizens. We're going to be impacted by it. You have men like Sessions who still call black men boys. So racial issues will come up, I'm sure. The Dixiecrats, the old boy network will feel more secure to show their racist views and their racist sentiments. They're already showing it. Writing graffiti about the N-word and this and that. They're free now. They feel like they've arrived. They got rid of the black president. Now they got their own homeboy. But what are we going to do about it? We use the system to get an advantage. And I'm not saying wait till 2020. Everybody thought, well, 2000. You know what can happen between 2016 and 2020? This country could not even be in existence anymore if somebody makes the wrong decision and pushes the wrong button. But I'm not one to keep on dwelling on the past. I want to do something right now. I want us to rally and mobilize ourselves, organize ourselves, strategize, plan. Get yourself together. Scrutinize all those nominees and every one of them that you disagree with becoming your Attorney General, your Secretary of State, or your Secretary of Defense. Write your senator about it. That's the House. The upper house is responsible to confirming the nominees to cabinet positions. If you see a judge coming up for judgeship, federal judge coming up for judgeship, remember it's the president that must send that nominee to the Senate to be confirmed. Read about that judge. See what his record is. Then write your senator. Congress has a lot of power. The House of Representatives, they have a lot of power. If there was a tie between Hillary and Trump, if those advocates were successful. Those activists were successful in getting there be a tie. You need to find out who your House of Representative person is. And write them. www.representative.gov. Write them. You'll find it on the site what their phone number is. Most of them have an office in your city, in your town. Find out. Go there. Make a move. Do something. If this thing allows this nation to go down into the barrel of the abyss, it's nobody's fault but ours. Not Donald Trump. We just told you every nominee that he offers up has to be approved. We're not a dictatorship. We're not a monarchy. We have a voice if we want our voice to be heard. And not just complaining and boo-hooing and getting on the Facebook. I've seen so many people talk about everything. They ain't doing nothing, but they're just talking a lot. I haven't heard nobody say let's rally. I haven't seen people should be on this broadcast today. If you really care about the nation, if you really care about really changing things. People talking about I want to move to Canada. I want to move here. I want to move there. I ain't moving nowhere. 5, 6, 7, 8 generations of my family on all sides have been in this country. And I'm not going anywhere. I've never been to Africa. Never in my life. Never been to Canada. And if I go to any of them places I'm going to visit, I'm not going to stay. But I'm going to do something. I'm doing something here now. Trying to get everybody's mind to a different way. Protest is fine, but protest without a plan means nothing. I'm glad you stopped by. I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful holiday this Thanksgiving. Go into your local neighborhoods. Get your neighbors. If you have neighbors in your street. I live in a complex, in an apartment complex. I'm going to start knocking on doors and saying, let's have a meeting about strategy. Let's do something about this thing. I already talked to a few of my people that have physical and developmental and mental disabilities. I've talked to them. Let's do something about this. Let's get together. Talked to a few family members of mine that are activists. I said, let's get together. Let's do something. Let's not just be spilling our guts and having outrage on some social media, and that's as far as it gets. No. Come to my YouTube channel. You'll see all of the programs that I've had here live on Facebook. Every single one of them will be there. I would admonish you to go there and listen to them all again. Jot down some notes. Jot down some strategies that you can garnish from what I've said before and what I've said today. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Remember, it was not about the pilgrims. It's not about anybody but thanking the Lord for allowing you to see another year. Thanking the Lord for your family, even those that have gone before. Thank you, Lord, for their memory. Thank you for what they've taught me. Thank you for their influence in my life. Thank you. And then don't let Thanksgiving be just a day in November. Let it be a day that you always are thankful. Call somebody else. Call somebody up that you're thankful for and that you're thankful toward. That done something wonderful in your life, that was there for you, prayed for you, helped you in some way or another. You can't get to see them, they may be far away. But call them up and thank them. Someone may have gone out of your life. I know my grandparents. I thank the Lord every day, and I thank them in particular on Thanksgiving. I thank them because of what they have been in my life. They've long gone. I was 65, so you know my grandparents. I was long gone. I thank God for my mother who's still with us. Be thankful. Be thankful. Because when all's said and done, we have a whole lot to be thankful for. And don't get so bogged down in the cares of this world that you can't be thankful for what you've attained, what you've achieved, what you have. For whether you want to admit it or not, I'm going to say it for you, and I'm going to say it for myself. The Lord has been mighty good to each and every one of us. And He has even greater days yet ahead. for you and for me. But just remember, sometimes you just can't stand still and let any old thing happen. You have to make some things happen. You have to make change. And it starts with you. God bless you. Until we meet again, we'll be here again on Monday. No, what is the day? Yeah, today is Monday. We'll be here Friday. We will be here Friday. It's nothing more than a brief God bless you for Thanksgiving. But we won't see you until after Thanksgiving. We may be here Friday, but check us out. We're Facebook Live, so most of us are on Facebook sometime during the day. I'm here always at 3 o'clock, Monday through and Friday, every week, speaking about something I believe that will impact our lives and something that will motivate us to do that thing that will give us life purpose, give our lives meaning, and set the goals that have been planned for us into action. God bless you until we meet again. See you soon. Bye.